Hey guys, this is some stuff that I did use to get into pretty much automation and controls, and pretty much I'll give you guys more of a detail how a lot of things that I've done throughout the past and a lot of books that I've read, and just to get me to where I needed to be at instead of life and getting things ready to go. So pretty much, you need a foundation, pretty much like getting where you need to be at. This is the book they gave me when I was in school. Pretty much just gives you the fundamentals of electricity, Ohm's law, different stuff like, how to check for resistors, transformers, how are they wired up, how they work, and pretty much like the math side of it as well, and pretty much giving you more in-depth details like of how like, diodes work and how pretty much like different sine waves for like and you're checking for like DC voltage or AC voltage and stuff like that as well. And then you got like different MOSFETs, integrated circuits, just different kinds of stuff that would help you out in the field when you become controls and automation. And also too, this is, like I said, this is a very fundamental book. Gives you pretty much your foundation of how everything works. And I would say that this is one of the books that you did need to know or need to practice on. So practice what you preach, and this is what I would say that you should be using. So if not, if there's different books out there, I mean, probably other books that are maybe cheaper and maybe more affordable. So this is one of the books that helped me out and got me in through the doors and stuff like that. So learning is pretty much, the big key here. So that was for me. Another book too was the pretty much a PLC book, the Programmable Logic Controller book. Like I said, this is from school. Had to pay for it as well out of pocket. This is pretty much gives you like the PLC background stuff as well, how inputs work, outputs work. Give you guys pretty much like a rough, gives you like the and ors, pretty much your logic, how it works, your Boolean expressions. You got some pretty much examples how a rung would look, or pretty much how a program would look. Just different PLC programming that you have on here. Gives you pretty much questions. They got different answers for it. I mean, this is, like I said, for someone that really wants to get into it and actually understand how the PLCs work and stuff like that, and really want to get in a good understanding of it. I feel like this is a good book to have to practice, and just give you a good I want to say kickstart and stuff like that. If you're not in school yet and stuff like that, so like I said, it's giving you a good example. PLC compare and jump and MCR instructions. Those are instructions that you actually use during a program. You either compare and construction, or you're gonna jump to an instruction. So this is something that you would see in the pretty much on the field. A lot of those fast moving products or type of environment. That's what you would see. You got subroutines and stuff like that, stuff that you would see in the actual real field. This is a pretty good book. I do recommend this book. It does give you some good pointers, especially because it gives you these questions, and then it gives you these answers. So it pretty much challenges you to actually not just read the book, but actually give you some sense of practicing in some type of real world situations. So another book that I would also use was the Uglies book as well. This is the electrical one. This is pretty much motor controls as well. Gives you some I would say some decent I would say some decent pretty much answers here for you, like if you need to bend some pipes and stuff like that, and if you're bending conduit. But I mean, this is very basic stuff. This is for something that you could throw at it. Like they give you a 3-way start and stop station, and you got a 2-3-way wire stop station as well. I mean, just giving you different like 3-phase AC motor windings, how they're connected and stuff, high voltage, low voltage. This is the stuff you'll see on the field for real. So this is what I do like about this pretty much this Ugly book. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty, I would say it's pretty cheap for what compared to these books cost. When I went to school, this is what they gave me. So I mean, I would say this would be something that you would want to get, just to see if you're actually interested in getting into, controls and automation. But like the fundamentals of me getting into that is learning electrical basics, motor control basics, and then you still need to understand the mechanical aspects of stuff, pneumatic stuff. Pretty much is all you have to know. Got to be well rounded around a lot of those things as well. And then once you get in between these books and stuff like that, I do recommend getting into these. These are especially mainly for Allen Bradley or Rockwell Automation. These are, actually giving you a good aspect of how to actually give you like real world issues. And fundamental programming is like actually know how to program from scratch. How to program an actual PLC controller. So like, let me see. This is actually what you would actually do. And actually before you even get to all that, they have, this manual. Who is it for? How it works. Gives you pretty much a good rough in detail how everything is, and it gives you the contents. But let's see here. Let's get into it. How to save in the project. How to actually get into it for revisions 21 and higher. So you have to notice that too. So there are lower versions of this. This is the most recent versions of it. So yeah, these are pretty good books. I would recommend them for anybody that's, like I said, get into controls and automation, especially for Allen Bradley. And then this one gives you programming examples, which is pretty good because it gives you actual examples of how programs are written and how to actually write them yourself. So I would say pretty much going through this book and how it's written and how it's actually out in the real field. So like you'll see some stuff on here. I would say like for somebody that does want to get into it, this is, like I said, one of these books that you would have to get, or not have to get, but something that would boost your your learning or your education. Also too though, I do recommend, if you don't want to take the route of spending a lot of money, there are some free stuff out there you can look into and see as well. I know there's one person as well that kind of helped me out in a way, was Tim Wilborn. He actually is pretty good. He actually got some free courses as well, and some trainers too. So I mean, the trainers are pretty good. We had some at work, pretty good. I would say. I did take some of his online courses, his free online courses. I would say they're pretty good as well. And also too on YouTube, he actually has some good videos, I would say, on how to actually face these things in real life. So I mean, it's not just like someone giving you some very broad answer. It's kind of in-depth answers and stuff like that as well. And let me see. Also too, yeah, this is where I got the books at, from PLC University. Pretty much it's the, if I'm not mistaken, I forgot his name already, but I think it was the PLC professor, I believe. But yeah, he has a lot of books, especially for CCW, Connected Components Workbench. So I mean, he does have all these books here for that. And then he has like the fundamentals for I guess these are the newer ones that he brought out. And then for I believe the newer versions, or not the older version, for the Slick 500s, I believe. And so like I said, these are pretty good books, especially if you're going to take a class from Rockwell Automation. They're really high in price and stuff like that, so it's pretty hard to actually get into those classes for a cheap price. Yeah, like I said, if you're a hands-on learner or someone that can actually read a book and put it into play, I think that would be a good idea if that's what you like to do, and that would be a good plan for you if you don't have to spend that much money. And also too, another thing that I did do as well. I mean, it's up to you guys if you guys would want to do that, but my PLC Training Academy, they actually, I'm 50-50 with them. I did take the course. I did actually do it. I don't think it's for everybody, especially if it's, you're sitting down, you have to download all these, different, applications for it. And, it's kind of, to me, it was kind of boring. I like someone that actually interacts with you a lot, and, their system, their help system is kind of slow. And, like I said, they pretty much point you to like if this is the issue, you gotta like figure it out yourself in a way. And it's kind of sucked because, like I said, I took it for about 6 months did finish the course. But like I said, to me, it's not for everybody. If it's somebody like that, you can just sit on the computer, just watch something all day, then I guess that's for you. But for me, I'm not like that. I need to see it like in my hands. I need to be actually physically doing it. So like I said, this is not for everybody. This is for some people that can do it and can't do it. So yeah, another person too I did take some classes from too as well was Paul Lindsay. I feel like the PLC Academy and PLC Dojo, kind of the same thing. They pretty much talk the same, and actually the courses were kind of the same as well. It was just them talking through stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, PLC Academy did give you that they're pretty much like a PLC trainer demo. So, but you have to like log in. Oh, I think it will only last you like about 24 hours, and you can pretty much simulate actual pretty much a program, and it was okay, I guess, for the price that you're paying for. But at the same time, for me, like I feel like I can need to do it. So for me, it wasn't for me, but maybe for somebody that needs some type of direction of how they can get better in PLC, or automation. This is pretty much, I would say, kind of a way or some type of resource that you can look into that you would want to do. And also too, this is, I would say, highly recommended from a lot of people that I spoke to. I'm actually taking it as well right now. Is some of these courses from International Society of Automation, but they're very steep in price. So these prices are pretty steep for what they ask for. I mean, you do get a certificate out of it. A lot of companies do ask for this, certificate as well. It's like I said, if you could have a company pay for this, even better. And I would say this is a pretty good system. I think what they got going on. From other ones I've been taking, this is pretty more descriptive, more giving more, I would say, more real world issues. And so I would highly recommend this one. But like I said, the price for it's very steep, especially if you're paying out of pocket yourself. This is something that I would do if you have the money for it. If you don't have the money for it, I would have actual company pay for it, and then from there you can do the judgment on yourself if it's worth it or not. And also too, if you want to build your own trainer, if you feel like, because you can build your own trainer, just, I would say, do it with an actual PLC that's out using the field, like a Simmons or something from Allen Bradley or Beckhoff, but they're pretty pricey. I know for a fact that CCW Connected Components Workbench, the MicroLogics are pretty cheap. Those, and their software is free. I would go here to pretty much build an actual pretty much a trainer. The trainer I did start off with was Allen Bradley, and pretty much it was a MicroLogics. So I believe it was either this one or this one. I'm not too sure, or it might be the cheaper one actually. I'm not being honest with you about that. Maybe, let me see. I think it's on this page. Yeah, it's this one. So yeah, it was this one I started off with. It was a little more cheap at the time, but yeah, this is the one. And then there's also too, if you want like a panel view, it's that as well. But I believe there's no free software for panel view. You actually have to buy the subscription from Rockwell Automation. And also too, Rockwell Automation does have a course. I believe it's the e-learning course, e-learning plus course. That's very expensive, but it's a yearly subscription. So you do have a lot of like servos, motion control, pretty much gives you a lot of the fundamentals of their PLC program inside of it, and a lot of electrical components as well too that they show you. So I think that would be a good benefit if you want to be more well-rounded around Allen Bradley / Rockwell Automation. So but yeah, this is what got me through a lot of stuff, and this is where I'm at right now. I'm still, like I said, I'm still learning as well, even though with position and automation and controls at the moment, I'm still learning. It's still learning, you learn things every day, so it's not like you're capped off at one a learning point. So yeah, this is what I would be doing. Pretty much you start off with this book, and then if you want to go to your local college or local trade school, they would pretty much set you up in certain classes. Like I said, for me, I would want to be well-rounded to know pneumatic, mechanical, hydraulic stuff as well, just so like that you could be well-rounded on what you don't know. And like that, when you do come to a problem, it's either going to be a mechanical issue, or pneumatic issue, hydraulic issue, something that could pretty much pinpoint it that it's not an electrical issue, and like that you know what you're doing. So yeah, also too, we'll be building up a home trainer soon. I'm just waiting on the components to get here ordered through eBay. So if you want to see that, I will be posting that soon. Pretty much the build out, what HMI will be using and stuff like that, and seeing how it's built from scratch to an actual program and how it's used and how to set up an HMI and stuff like that. So I will be doing that soon, just waiting on some parts. So yeah.